When we talk about B2B marketing and sales, it's not B2B or B2C. It's organizations are not even using AI in their product. They still claim they are AI powered, AI backed.
Or do you think that lead gen is the only way out in the B2B side?
When we talk about marketing or branding, the end goal is always, I am a staunch believer that the content is king, but the context is. There are two major things that any person or any startup guy needs to focus on. One is the second aspect, which is the most crucial aspect, is
B2B SaaS market exploded over the last decade. Thousands of companies launched, scaled, and suddenly so many companies also dropped. But behind every successful brand, a B2B company, there's a marketing angle. Today, we have Achilles, a global marketing head of a company called InnoVites, who worked with smaller startups to larger organizations, scaling their businesses and making the brand and the visible in the market. Hi Achilles, how are you?
I'm good, Rishav. Thank you so much for having me here.
Great. So before we deep down much more into the B2B marketing side, which is much more interesting to you and to me, because I have also been into the B2B business for a long time.
Right.
I want to know about you. Where do you come from? How's your journey been like, and how did you landed up being in InnoVites?
Well, I am basically from Delhi. I've done all my schooling, all my graduation, everything from the north of India. I have done computer science engineering, and while doing engineering itself, I knew it's not really my cup of tea. So post that, I did my master's in international business and marketing. I've been very lucky. I have had worked with so many different industries, from healthcare to semiconductor to SaaS, AI. But I feel being of a technology background and then working for a B2B SaaS has always aligned with my priorities and my expertise.
Interesting. So, like, what was the change? What made you decide that engineering is not meant for you? Like, what was the one trigger point? Like, for me also, there was one trigger point.
I think one of the major trigger point was, since I did computer science engineering, I was never really good in coding. Like, I could code, but it was not something that I enjoyed doing. So that's when I realized that I like talking to people. I like deciphering what they are thinking, how to connect with them, different language, different regions. So that's when I ventured into marketing, and it just clicked.
Interesting. So as of today, when we talk about any B2B company, founders or any senior leadership talk about positioning of their product or their particular SaaS, anything in the market. For B2C side, we know that what is positioning, like
Right.
how we can position the product in front of the audience. What defines the positioning in B2B?
It's a very interesting question, Rishabh, because a lot of times, even now I also do freelancing work for a lot of startup founders, assisting them in positioning and messaging. One of the major things that I feel is very important, that people need to understand what problem they are solving. So for a specific B2B technology organization, I see a lot of time, if they have website, if they have LinkedIn, they keep focusing on the technology that they are bringing into the market. But the basic aspect of positioning is positioning or keeping your product as a bridge between the solution and the problem, which most of these startup founders have kind of forgotten. So all these websites, all their communication is more focused on the technology rather than the actual pain points or the problems that they are solving.
So is it getting evolved nowadays, or like you see any change happened over the years, or like people mindset are getting shifted, or like it's same mindset?
So there are two aspects to it. First, yes, their mindset is getting shifted, focused on marketing. Like initially, I think the major shift happened post-COVID. So before COVID, it was always, marketing was considered one of the cost draining. Like, marketing is spending, they're not doing any work. This was the mindset. But post-COVID, when people actually realized the power of digital media, the power of social media, online, LinkedIn, webinars, that's when the basic aspect and the basic consideration of marketing changed completely. The second aspect too is I think because of AI, everyone wants to venture into it. Organizations are not even using AI in their product. They still claim they are AI powered, AI backed. So I think the use of technology and AI has become so superficial that the major importance of why the product exists has completely deteriorated.
Interesting. But for when it comes to marketing, like for B2B, the conversation has always been around that we need to do lead generation. This is a bigger problem. But people stop, like most of the companies, today also B2B companies, I say that put money on branding, put money on content marketing, create content, do networking, do events, closed door events. This will always lead to lead gen. It will not happen suddenly, but it will take time. But people are always focused on doing lead gen via different platforms.
Right.
What do you see, like what is more effectful? What for you worked for over the time? Any interesting use case which you figured out via branding, or do you think that lead gen is the only way out in the B2B side?
See, when we talk about marketing or branding, the end goal is always generating revenue and
Correct.
generating lead. That's the major focus. Yes, we develop a brand. Yes, we do a lot of branding activities. But branding and marketing, it's always a long haul game. You can never say that, okay, I've launched a social media campaign today and tomorrow I will get revenue and the third day the deal is closed. So that does not play like that. So it's always a long haul game. You have to put in efforts. You have to keep doing it. I think consistency is the key when we talk about B2B tech marketing specifically. One of the things I really like is content marketing. You know, I am a staunch believer that the content is king, but the context is queen. So even if AI is generating a lot of content, even if there is hell lot of content on all social media platforms, if the buyer sees the context and can relate to your content, it's the perfect aspect to it. Another venture into content marketing is you have to create a industrial positioning, or you have to create a positioning where you are considered as an industry leader, because anyone can say this is what the normal norm is and this is how it should be done, this is the problem we are solving. But if you keep talking about your product, then you eventually leave a blind side for the problem that the end customer is focusing on or he's facing. So the major eye of the tiger has to be the problem that your product is solving, rather than the technology or the any other aspect that is being put into place. I think one of the funny or a nice incident is when I used to work with this semiconductor organization called Silica. So they were basically a Fable design house headquartered in the UK, and they were only focused on the automotive sector. So one of the major ways how we diversified the industries from automotive to industrial to SATCOM and other stuff was through content marketing and through offline exhibitions. So we produced a lot of content, a lot of relevant content, attended a lot of offline events where we not only positioned ourselves as a leader in automotive, but also a specific industry category where we can say that when it comes to IP or IC or semiconductor, this was the place or this was the organization to come back to. So content marketing always plays a huge role, irrespective of the amount of content you have online. If you are targeting on your target audience, on the pain points that he is facing, and if you can talk to him in his language, I think half the battle is already won.
True, and obviously often most of the time when you go out for this particular events and networking part, and rather than telling about what we do as an individual, but understand about what the person is doing, and then ask a question that what problem you are facing, and if you have a solution, pitch that.
Right.
Most of the time, what I see, you must have figured out. Also, you witness that people don't have such kind of features most of the time. They say that we also do this, we also do this. So do you think that when it comes to B2B side of any SaaS product, saying yes to everything is the right way to do, or saying no to few things which you don't do and which you don't want to do is the right way to approach to build a larger brand? Because one is focused, one is something just to convince someone.
Right.
What?
That's a very interesting question, Rishabh, because I feel a lot of organizations have created their product roadmap based on this thought process. So for example, if I talk about ERP is Enterprise Resource Planning. If you look at these big players like SAP, So they have a humongous amount of data. Their ERP is so huge. It has so many features, so many modules, and they sell the entire thing as a bundle, irrespective of the organization using all of them, irrespective of being that a right connect to the organization. It doesn't matter. So that's what they had envisioned, that we need to have all these features. Even if two organizations don't use, the rest of them will use. So we need to give everything as a bundle, which may be a good thought process for them. But if you look at the long run, an organization which is not even using 10% of the modules or features that SAP is providing, it's just a zero value addition for them. They are draining so much of money in licenses, there are implementation costs, there is a customization cost. So they have a lot of issues. But when it comes to targeting for a niche, it kind of becomes easier, because you know what value you are able to provide to your audience and what kind of solution you are able to put forward. I think that's where the mindset between targeting on niche and saying no sometimes is always much better than saying that yes, our solution can do everything.
But most of the cases, like there are few companies who start from India, and they are started by young people who doesn't have that kind of a background in terms of into sales, into connections, or into networking. Because B2B sales, over a time I understood it's always about networking.
Right.
Sales will happen via that. Obviously, over a time when you become a big brand, people come automatically to the platform, but they are hardly 2% of it.
Right.
But remaining 98%, if people are selling, are via networking, connections, referrals, all those things. What someone needs to do, like if someone is just starting today, like in order to reach out to customers, like obviously me as an individual will not have so much of money to spend in all the aspects,
Right.
events, hiring good enterprise level sales people, or putting money into branding. What are few things a new age startup or a company, I'm not talking about tools,
Right.
I'm talking about the B2B proper SaaS products,
Right.
can be AI SaaS product also.
I feel there are two major things that any person or any startup guy needs to focus on. One is obviously very obvious answer, digital marketing. He has to create his profile, he has to create organization's profile on LinkedIn and on social media, but majorly also look at the places his target audience is at. So for example, if although you are a B2B tech company, but if your solution is very industrial or very tech oriented, then LinkedIn would be a better place. But if it's more on a social media front, if you are trying to connect with people, if it's something on that sort, then you have to do it on Facebook. The second aspect, which is the most crucial aspect, is attending offline events. Like I said, after COVID, the boom of digital media happened. Everyone knows about digital marketing. Everyone wants to get into it. Excellent. But when it comes to B2B tech marketing, you cannot leave the significance and the major focus that an offline event creates. Networking is one of the major things. And whenever we talk about B2B SaaS, the sales cycles are usually very long. It's never like a 1 week thing. You meet today, the next week it's decided and it's sold. The sales cycles sometimes go up to 7 to 8 months.
Correct.
So if you keep connecting with a person on email, on webinar, or on just calls, it doesn't make that kind of impact, the impact that an offline face-to-face conversation creates. One thing, my present director, I really like one aspect that he says, that when we talk about B2B marketing and sales, it's not B2B or B2C, it's M2M, it's mammal to mammal. A person, the kind of connection and the kind of networking, the difference that brings when you are on a face-to-face conversation, that kind of connection and opportunity doesn't really arise when you are on a call.
Correct. Exactly. I also felt the same. Like if I had a first call with someone on online meet, and previous week I was in Mumbai, so I just spoke to few people offline. The conversation got changed entirely.
Right.
Like what we just talked about what we do, but when we meet, it becomes more interesting about what problems it can be solved, what problems they are facing.
Yeah.
So over a time, even after COVID, I felt that offline is always the game. Like be it anything online we do, when it comes to sales, branding, and networking, offline plays a major role.
It means
One important aspect, when we launch, like many B2B companies, I see their websites. Like obviously websites, SaaS companies put a lot of efforts in order to present their product, etc. And there are few things they mention over it, that we do this, we do that, we do etc. How important aspect when in the marketing point of view to position those product in a better way on the website, and also making sure that when they get implemented, the customer experience is also is better, because marketing angle will be there something that even the customer who is coming and customer is not going, customer is sticking to the product should also be there in the longer run.
Right. So this is where the branding aspects also kicks in, Rishabh, because branding is not just what the marketing people are saying. Any touch point that the customer has with the organization becomes a branding aspect. He connects on social media, he looks at LinkedIn, there's a specific messaging. He goes and speaks to a salesperson, maybe they speak a different language, different perception. Then he starts using the platform, different perception. So in all these touch points, you have to be very mindful in what kind of messaging or what kind of content you're putting forward. That's why branding is so important, because it aligns the entire strategic narrative of your product to when he visits to the website, to when he goes to a social media, when he speaks to a salesperson, and when he actually uses the product. So all these touch points is what has to be very aligned in the way they communicate what they want to say. Coming on the website, I have always been a staunch believer, that website is the face of the organization. Irrespective of how you connect with the person, he will or she will come to your website to look at you. One thing that I have realized lately, like I said, I am also connected with a lot of startup founders. They always focus on what their product can do.
Correct.
So the entire website is all about them. What our product can do, this has this feature, it does this, but that's not what a person wants to. A person coming on your website wants to see or realize how your product can solve his or her problem. So this is where a problem first narrative or a value first narrative plays a very huge role. Because when a person is coming on the website, you just have 8 to 10 seconds to deliver what you want to deliver, to capture his attention so that he spends more time on your website. But within those 8 seconds, if you're not able to capture him, then it's half of the battle is already lost.
Interesting. And so what stands in the website first? Like obviously there are multiple aspects. For you, what you have observed that stands a lot in the website? For me, I'm saying, for me, when I open a website, it should obviously load fast. That is one important aspect. But what is written in the hero section makes me scroll down more as compared to like what is written on the other parts of the website.
Right. I feel it's a very human specific thing, because a lot of times, so we in our organization, we are also very focused on doing a lot of A/B testing. So we usually do two kinds of approach. First is a problem focused approach, where we state the problem, we say what are the pain points, and then we bring in the solution. And then there is value added narrative, where we say that this is the value that you will get. So for example, we focus on wire and cable manufacturers. So we may talk about what kind of optimization it helps in, how it helps in reducing scrap, what kind of AI solutions that can be brought into. So if you talk about the value, then you bring about the solution, and then you talk about the pain points. So that's where you can actually know what is more resonating. So there is no sure shot formula when it comes to marketing. You can never say that this strategy helped this organization scale, I will apply the same and it will do the same for me. It doesn't work like that. So in my previous organization, we did this A and B testing, and at that point of time we realized the value added narrative created a lot of difference. But on the same aspect, the results that we got from my present organization was a problem focused narrative creates more difference. So at the end of the day, you have to keep testing, you have to keep changing the context, and you have to keep changing the messaging so that you can resonate with your target audience. And another thing that I feel is people have started using AI as a search box. Instead of going to Google and asking, I need so and so, they will go to ChatGPT or Perplexity or to any other AI platform and then ask that. So you have to also make sure that your website is capable enough, has the specific content that the AI platform will revert back to you.
So usually when we talk about marketing spends, like what's the usual marketing spends the company keeps, like global company keeps, like according to their like revenue wise, or is it like overall budget they decide that this irrespective of revenue we generate, we are going to spend this much. I have seen companies who have budget and marketing team is not able to exhaust, they are into pressure that they need to exhaust also. That kind of scene also has witnessed in the market. So how the marketing budget gets defined in this particular B2B industry?
Wow, I think this is the first time I'm hearing that the marketing is not able to exhaust their budget.
This happened with, but then eventually they end up spending into some places which is not required, which I have seen in 3 to 4 global companies, large global companies.
Wow,
like.
Okay. I feel in all the organizations that I have worked with, marketing has, and not only that, the organizations that I worked in, even my colleagues, they always complain that marketing needs to justify the spend. Like every penny spent has to has that ROI, has to has that, how many leads we generated, what kind of business that came into. But one thing that organizations sometimes forget is, like I said, marketing and branding is always a long haul game. When we talk about a campaign being launched, there's a lot of things that goes behind launching a very simple campaign. What kind of creative you need to design, what kind of content you need to put on it, what time you need to release the ads, on what days, what is the target audience, who are the specific ICPs that you want to focus upon. There's a lot of strategy, there's a lot of mindset that goes into that, which is not really seen. You just see the front ad and then organization feel this is, and one thing about marketing is everyone has an opinion in marketing. Being a sales guy, a product guy, engineering guy, everyone feels that we could have done better.
Correct.
What are they even doing? But only the wearer of the shoe knows where the shoe pinches. So only when you walk a mile in the person's shoes, you realize that what is the thought process, what is the positioning or messaging that went into creating this entire campaign actually mattered. It matters a lot. With respect to spend, I think in the initial days, I feel all the organizations are always very stingy to input anything. So for example, even when I started in my present organization, the marketing budget wasn't that much, but if you are able to deliver that value in small budget, you can then ask for a bigger budget. So for example, we were never into doing a lot of offline events, but me being a very focused person, and I know that when we talk about a B2B technology marketing, offline events is something that you really need to attend. So we attended one event, then second event, and we saw that the amount of leads, the amount of people that came on the booth was fantastic. One of the instances I really like was we did an event in Germany called Via Düsseldorf. So the same morning, I was having a conversation with our CEO about the LinkedIn campaigns. So he was asking me, so what is the ROI that is being generated? How many people clicked? Are people also viewing? So, the relevance of that ad. So following that day, I think more than 60% people who came on our booth, they literally said that we know you through LinkedIn. We saw your ads, we saw your campaigns. A lot of people also showed the snapshot and screenshots of our LinkedIn post and say that this really resonated with us, so we wanted to come and talk. So this also inclines that a lot of time, even if you're not getting likes, even if you're not getting shares on your post, but the value is being driven. So for example, in that particular campaign, we didn't get a lot of clicks or shares, or people didn't fill a lot of form. But so many people came on the booth referred to that particular campaign that we ran. So this directly shows that offline marketing is something where people want to connect with you, want to have that connect even before they make a commitment about buying something.
Interesting. But is it always like marketing and branding budgets are different, or like it's same like in any organization of B2B?
I feel it is almost the same, because a lot of organizations don't really understand the difference between marketing and branding.
That's the main problem.
For them, social media, we are doing LinkedIn posts, we are sending email, that is branding, that is marketing.
No.
That is absolutely not. So you always need to have a dedicated budget for branding and dedicated budget for marketing. But unfortunately, that doesn't happen. So you just get a pool of money, and then you have to strategically allocate funds where you have to.
Over the years, like recently, I would say, suppose you've been in the market for 13 years and 10 years, and recently 3 years, it's all AI all over.
Yeah.
Did anything change in your life personally, how you work or how your team works, how your things works around when you do things?
A little, yes, for sure. I would like to, hit a quote here that when we talk about AI, people are also very skeptical that, oh, AI is going to take our job, everything is going to get automated. But AI will never take your job. But a person who can use AI will surely take your job. So as long as you know how to use AI strategically and how to use AI as a support and not as something that you are completely dependent on, I think you are absolutely on the right track. Because when we talk about doing any campaign or branding, marketing, AI is definitely very helpful when we want to do some segmentation, we want to create some collateral quickly, we want to personalization. So all these aspects, I think, has definitely helped in curating AI as one of the things that marketing needs to utilize.
Interesting. Like recently, HubSpot also moved lot of things to AI also, AI native.
Right.
And over, because they came to India recently only, I think 1.5 years before. Like they were available, but Indian entity got established 2 years before, because HubSpot for startup also got launched in India. So leaving that aside, but HubSpot also launched AI. Is it like impacting how we use that as a marketing tool, or like anything easier it became if you use it very rigorously?
Yeah, we have been using a lot of AI, obviously, and also HubSpot. So yes, HubSpot is bringing a lot of AI aspect into it, but it's still, a lot of it is still in the beta version. So it will gain momentum, but I think it will take another 2 to 3 years for it to make a established mark. But what I like about HubSpot is they are very actively communicating, and they are very actively in outreach with their target audience. So even last week I connected one of our HubSpot management team, and they were asking, so what kind of marketing we do, how can AI be implemented, where are the sections. So they do this kind of research on on their specific target audience to understand how they can develop their product roadmap. So major integration with HubSpot is, I think, Breeze AI. So it helps in creating workflows and all that, like a menial automated job, and something that you need to sit and hit your head on for like 40-45 minutes. It gets it done within 5 minutes. So that's definitely a great step. Even you can schedule social media posts and all that on HubSpot, which also helps you create collaterals based on the content, and it will help you regenerating the content. So all these aspects are being developed, but I still feel they require at least 2 to 3 years to hit the exact pain point.
Being seen like everywhere, like obviously there are so many aspects of B2B marketing we use, but there's very limited. When I say it's either networking, events, branding, but you cannot keep running ads all over. You need to run specific ads.
Right.
Keeping aside the ad also, what is one aspect which you always felt worked very well over the years, and you see that it is still working even if the world is moving fast, AI is coming, that essence in B2B marketing or B2B sales or B2B branding, that it's still there, like over the years it has not got changed?
I feel two things. One is definitely the website. Like I've seen that people have started realizing that they need to work on their website. It needs to look nice, professional. So that thought process has definitely encouraged people to spend a little bit more on their website. So that is one thing. Second, I feel is retargeting, because like I said, a lot of people, irrespective of how you connect with them, they always come back on your website. But even with Google Analytics or Microsoft Clarity, you can get to know how long they stayed on their website, how long they interacted with the content, but it won't give you that kind of analytics as to who came on my website, how much time, how many times he came back, and what are the other places that he visits. So this is where the retargeting aspects plays a very huge role, because even if the prospect is not interacting with you, your ads or your collaterals will be shown to him wherever he goes. So I think retargeting is something a lot of people don't do, or they are too lazy, or they don't realize the relevance of it, but that is something that definitely needs to be capitalized on.
Interesting. Last one piece of advice to any new marketer who is entering into B2B segment. Like obviously, it's not a one-day job, because and neither you can provide results in one day as compared to some of the D2C brands.
Right.
Or a 1 month, 2 month, 3 month, and its results are seen over the years actually. What is one important advice which you felt you have you can give to new emerging B2B marketers out there?
For B2B marketing, one of the most crucial things that you need to do is attend sales calls. Because you can imagine, you can only think what the problem is. You can only convert it through reading here, through talking to your peers. But when you sit on a sales call, you can actually hear the exact language your prospect is using, the exact pain points that he's trying to figure out. So if you can, and not just one sales call, sit in as many sales calls as possible, irrespective of the prospect being huge or small or whatever it is. It will not only give you clarity on how to position your product, what kind of words to use, what kind of messaging to use, but it will also help you understand why that solution exists. So if you are able to understand that terminology, the language your prospect is using, and then bridge that with the solution that you are trying to position, I think it's one of the game changers that you can do. Absolutely necessary.
Interesting. With this, thank you so much, Achilles. And it was amazing talking to you. Very crisp and all to the point things what you have said. It's obviously people know it, people don't realize it most of the time. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Rishav. And just to add, I think I love quotes. I think it's very
please.
evident. One thing one of my mentors always used to say was, brevity is the soul of wit. If in marketing you are crisp, if in marketing you are clear, you're able to put your points across in least amount of words, that's the most important thing to do. So thank you so much for having me here. It was really fun talking to you.
Thank you so much.